it's Lauren.
So I'm just going to put it out there before we start today's little session. I have Tourette syndrome, and for those of you who don't know what Tourette syndrome is, it is involuntary vocal and motor tics. And if I try too hard to suppress that during these podcasts, then later on in the evening, I tick out really bad, and it can be very painful. So if you see me doing funky things with my face, it's okay if you laugh at me. It's okay for you to laugh with us. But it is what it is. I can't change it.
We embrace it.
Yep. And you're going to love it. I hope. Anyway, today's topic of conversation is going to be keeping the kids out of it.
So we saw this quote that really touched us, and so I'm going to read it. We posted it on our Facebook page as well, so if you want to refer back to it, please do. It says, co-parenting is not a competition. It's a collaboration of two homes working together with the best interest of the child at heart. Work for your kids, not against them. So I feel like personally that like if you're going through any type of situation, disagreement, it's really important to show the kids that their opinions matter, nurture them. Don't make them feel like it's their fault. Our kids are in the background. This is life, mom life. Excuse the noise. So with that being said, I just think that it's really important to be conscious of if you're talking about it with your friends and family of the situation that's going on, just be conscious of the kids if they're in the other room because you're both their parents and they love you guys. They love their parents equally. And so if they hear you talking bad or ill of one another, it hurts their feelings and that puts them in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm. It does, and that's not fair to them at all. Kids cannot cognitively process things the way that we do as adults. They may seem like they get it, they may seem like they understand it, but they can't process it the same way. It is a fact. It is a scientific, proven fact that they can't get it the same way that we do. Hence why they can't drive until they're 16 years old. They cannot react to things the same way at a younger age. Smoking until they're 18. They cannot possibly understand the long-term effects that has. Drinking when you're 21. There's a reason why these things are set up the way that they are, and it is because they cannot understand it truly until they hit certain ages. So we have got to be mindful whenever there is an issue that you're not involving your kid in your issue.
Yeah.
It's not okay because they cannot process it the same way. And we don't want to create resentment or hate or any more turmoil in their lives. Period.
Right. And a childhood is so important because you grow up remembering your childhood. You grow up remembering how you were raised. And typically, I mean, studies have shown you're going to raise your children the way you were raised. And that's kind of something that we have chosen in our family not to do. You know, all of us, 4 parents in our family, are subject of divorced parents. And correct me if I'm wrong, but most of our parents don't communicate at all.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. And we're adults. And not that we want them to if they can't get along, but seeing that it is possible to co-parent and not make the kids feel like they're the reason or that they have to choose is, I think, super beneficial to our kids. And so we see what it does for our kids in our home, our foster children, to know that their bio parents and their foster parents can get along and put everything to the side is really heartwarming to the children. And it's teaching them that they can do that in the future too if they're in a situation like we have been. I think just really showing the children that they're loved. Yeah.
And they're supported. Because ultimately, it's going to trickle down to them, bottom line. No matter what's going on, good or bad, it's going to trickle down to them because they're the young ones. And let's face it, who rolls downhill, right? So one of the main things...
I had to think about that one.
Yeah. I'm trying to watch my mouth. So one of the main things is when you are in an argument with a parent, period, no matter what your situation is, do not bring the kids into it at all. It is none of their business. They do not need to be in it. Do not blame them for your adult problem. Life gets stressful, period. Let's add kids to it. It's going to be more stressful, but it is not the kids' fault if we are feeling a little bit more stress and whatever they may be doing heightens that. It's still not their fault because they are kids. And no bad mouthing the other parent. You cannot be bad mouthing the other parent in front of your kids, period. Now, granted, as your kids get older, your kids may have an issue they just want to vent about. Allow them to vent. Allow them to feel supported by you. But instead of jumping in and being part of whatever they're talking about, try to help give them some solutions to, what can you do to help the situation? How was your attitude? How were you talking? These are the things we deal with our 13-year-old all the time because he is 13 and he is getting it to a point where he's not paying attention to the way that he speaks to anyone. Right. And we are constantly having to remind him, how was your tone? What were you doing?
And that he's a leader in the house. And so if he's talking to his younger siblings with a mean tone of voice, then they're going to respond the same way. And that's, I think, too, with the parents, like if, it's easy to respond the way you're being treated. And so if you can respond and not react, which is really hard to do at times, but responding and not reacting, and sometimes that takes 24 hours. It takes time to think about the big situation before reacting. Most of the time, it's going to make a huge difference.
It really will. I just cannot stress enough to you, though, about leaving your kids out of your issue, no matter what your issue is. If it's an issue with custody, that's none of their business. You need to figure that out on your own.
Don't use them as messengers.
No.
Either. They're not responsible for our situations. Unfortunately, they're in the situation because of us.
Our choices.
Because of our choices. So we have a choice to make them feel nurtured and loved, or to make them feel the amount of stress that we're feeling at their age. And I can't imagine. I mean, that the stress of daily life is intense on somebody, but for a child to feel the stress, I feel like when my parents went through divorce, I wanted to make my mom's day better, make my dad's day better. But then you feel like you have to choose on who needs it more, or what you're supposed to do, or and so a lot of the times I would internalize, and that was a really bad habit myself as a child that I've come into as an adult, is I internalize a lot. And if you have your friends and family to vent to, it's good. You just have to be aware of who's around and what you're saying.
And don't make your kids choose between you or your co-parent. That is completely unfair. They should never be in a place to ever have to choose to love one more than they love the other, or to pick the side of one more than the other. Let them be kids, because if you don't let them be kids now, then they're going to turn into angry, resentful people later on in life. And what are we putting out into society if we can't keep our stuff separate?
Right. Well, and I personally think that whenever you are, like, going back to you saying, you know, communicating, letting your children vent to you if they have a problem, just having open ears and not giving your input of opinion, because a lot of times your opinion is going to be stemmed from your experiences with their other parent. And so you're going to have these PTSD type of, like, not even PTSD, but you're going to have these negative feelings. And so I think once you can get past why it happened, when it happened, who with it happened, and you put the big picture of, we have kids and we're forever parents. We don't have to be with our exes. We don't have to, you know, work day in and day out with them. But being a forever parent, you do. And so it's a lot easier to co-parent than to argue every day.
Yeah, and I've learned over the years that Austin and I make better friends than we did partners. We just do. We get along better as friends. We communicate better as friends. And sometimes that's just what happens. And it doesn't mean that you're a failure in your marriage because y'all might be better friends than you are partners. That's okay. Again, we move past it. We focus on...
She's a big red button that he likes to push, though.
True. Yeah.
Any opportunity he gets.
And I'm like super sensitive Sally, so... But letting the kids be kids and not including them in your drama is first and foremost. Always put the kids first.
It's not their fault.
No, it's not their fault. So if you've learned anything from this today, I wish this was live because I'd be like, show of hands, who heard me and heard me say, don't put your kids in it.
Yes. Nurture your kids, love your kids. Don't let them stress how you're stressing about any stress in your life.
And we have lots of stress in our life. Not only do we do 50-50 custody where our bio kids are with me for a week and then our bio kids come to Austin and Lawrence for a week. We have foster kids coming and going all the time. We have foster kids who are permanent for a while. We have caseworkers in and out of our house all the time. We have other people. It is constant. So I feel like we have a better sense of, like, we get it stressful. Yeah. We totally get it. But if we can work through it and help you work through it, then we can help make everybody successful in all areas of parenting.
I think it's a lot of acceptance, just accepting what has happened and moving forward. Mm-hmm. Accepting that you didn't work out, and that's okay. And it's okay to have someone else in your children's life too. I don't know. I think I could, but I don't know that I could do what Mary does and accept me the way she has. I mean, she introduced me to her kids as her friend. And that was kind of our statement piece. I think that was really big of her to do. Very mature, very welcoming. And we've had our struggles and we continue to have struggles, but we respond and we don't react anymore. And that's probably the biggest thing. And I think in our relationships is sometimes it takes Mary not talking to Austin and talking to me because I can calm him down. I can reason with him better than her.
Well, and sometimes I'm just like, I'm calling Lauren on this one because Austin and I will not be able to effectively communicate until it's filtered through Lauren first. And sometimes that's important, knowing what is going to push the other parent's button and how do you filter that before creating a situation. Right. And unfortunately, sometimes for Lauren, she is the filter because I do have to run things through her before she runs them through Austin. And there are times that Austin will run things through Jared before he runs them through me, because it just gives I don't know, it's different.
It's easier. But we've learned that. We've learned that there are certain things that we need to co-parent to the other parent before directly to a parent.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. We've really have learned, and it takes time. So this isn't going to happen overnight. But the big picture is the kids. It's always the kids, because they're going to grow up and remember all of this. And our society needs love. And so if we start with our kids, we're changing the world.
And so you kind of do have a time frame, because again, I'm that person who doesn't want anyone feeling like they're a failure from the get-go. A time frame. The first year of mine and Austin's divorce was rough, but after we got through that first year, we were able to co-parent, including Jared, because Jared and I have been together for 9 years now, almost married for 8. We did co-parenting for nearly 4 years. No, it was about nearly 3 years before Lauren came into our lives. And, that was 2013, the end of 2013?
Yep.
When you came in? And, we're in 2019, still learning all the time how to co-parent. I'd say I've even had a lot of growth in the last year myself.
Absolutely.
So,
we have an audience.
It's not going to be an instant. It's awesome. Some people can do it instantly.
Yes.
It does take time, though. Give it time. Don't rush it. And help the kids get through it mainly.
I think if you're going through a rough time with the other parent, something to just stop and do is embrace your children. And a lot of the times, if you embrace the kids, those problems seem to disappear. Not that they always go away, but you can filter out those emotions through getting away from it. We got away this weekend and had a vacation together, and we planned on doing a podcast here, but it just didn't happen because we were having too much fun.
We had a blast.
I'm still sore from riding the inner tube.
Me too. I have like a hickey right. You look at these bruises. Do you see all this? That's from hanging on that tube.
But I feel like I lost my train of thought. But I do think that as long as you can put the big picture in your foresight and know that your emotions are temporary, and you can get through it.
It is, and you will hear us numerous times over and over in every broadcast saying, put the kids first. That's it. Always put the kids first. How are they going to feel? How are they going to process? Help them process. There's a lot to it, and
they're going through a lot physically that a lot of the times, I know at our kids' ages right now, 13 and 11, they are going through some major changes that you say what's wrong and they say, I don't know.
Nothing.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of, half the time I don't know what's wrong with me and I'm moody.
I know. We're asking them to explain what's wrong.
Yeah. But big picture, it's the kids. They need love. They need nurture. They need to know that it's going to be okay.
It is. And don't involve them in your BS because it's not fair to them at all.
Not at all. Sometimes it's okay to just only have communication via text message or email too, if you can't be nice to one another. We're learning from us and the way we respond. And so if your best form of communication is text message or email, you can refer back, and sometimes that's the best way so that you can get through a situation.
And not only get through a situation, but some divorces are just hard enough for a while that you almost need it in black and white for whatever reason, so you can refer back to it.
Absolutely.
Because you're not always going to remember what you say in the heat of the moment, but if you have it in writing, you can refer back to that.
Which means you can also hold yourself accountable for things that you did say, and
Mm-hmm.
it kind of humbles you,
Well, what just happened a couple weeks ago? Austin called asking me about something, and we were working through it, and he said something in a tone, and then of course, because he used that tone, I jumped right in, and then we left off the phone, kind of cranky with each other, and then I called him about 10 minutes after that, and I said, I'm sorry, I do have an attitude, and I apologize. Being the bigger, not even being the bigger person, but knowing that you've done something wrong, and you have come back in whatever way that you did, is good, because
just being responsible for your own
actions, being
actions,
accountable.
being accountable. But yeah, I mean, it happens.
Mm-hmm.
We're 6 years in, and it's still just a phone call. It happens. So,
Mm-hmm. And this is just show you guys we're not perfect.
No,
we don't claim to be perfect.
No.
And if you all really got a minute to hang out with us, we are like,
we're fun,
freaking funny too. But whenever she texts me about our name, Stitch, I'm like, what? We'll have you with stitches because we funny bitches. And she's like, no. And I was like, oh, okay. But we're hilarious. And hopefully you'll get to see that in the weeks to come.
Yeah, and always, you guys can always message us and tell us what you want us to talk about. This specific podcast was influenced by
someone who needed help.
Yes.
With how do we keep the kids out of our problems? And that's how we keep the kids out of our problems.
Yes.
We don't talk about it around them. We don't blame them for our problems. We don't involve them.
No.
We don't talk the other parent at all in front of the kids. If we have a disagreement with the other parent, then we're going to talk to our spouse about it and work it out with them before
we'll have a family meeting.
We do that. We do that.
And it's hard. It's hard because, we haven't had to have a family meeting about
since April?
Well, that was over our son. But we haven't had to have like a sit down. But I think that goes back to just responding and not reacting. I truly believe sometimes us adults need timeouts, and it's okay to ignore what's going on and process it in your own mind, because 9 out of 10 times the next day you're not even going to have a response because it's really not that big of a deal.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will always respond bigger the moment it happens than I would ever the following day.
Yeah.
And it's okay to sit in your feelings. Like, everyone is so quick to want to get past their feelings and get past that icky. It's okay to sit in it for a little bit.
I was always told to never go to bed angry. And I don't know how much I truly believe that, because I think sometimes, not go to bed angry, but it's okay to go to bed if you're upset about something. Don't carry it into the next day. I think that's part of it. And that, I think, is with anyone, not just your spouse, not with your kids, but to know that you can get through it and process it, and then the next day if you did react to it, me personally, sometimes I react and then the next day I'm like, oh shit, why did I even do that?
I do the same thing.
Yeah, I don't know, I truly think that in general we have to show our kids how to get through stress. And if they're in the middle of a divorce, if they're in the middle of a family feud, we have to show them you can get through.
Yes.
And how to get through.
Be the example of the person that you want to turn out into the world.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you right now,
that world is pretty scary. So I think we're
done. We're going to wrap it up today, guys.
Yeah. So shoot us a message if you want to hear of something for next week or in the next couple days. It's 4th of July.
4th of July.
Happy Independence Day. Get out there and spend it together.
Yep. and enjoy each other.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, peace out.
Have a
Happy
good day.
4th.